All right. I'm gonna wait for a few people to come in, of course. See me good. All right. Before I get started, I'm going to write this down. SCP, secure contain protect bam. Alrighty. I am going to, that says I'm going to be right back. So, that should be good. Well, I'm gonna wait until a few people come in. Oh, actually, as a matter of fact, it's a good time to check on some of those. Also, I know it's an unexpected live, but I have to get the summary done before I have to do the next thing tomorrow. saw one person on here, but they left. But I'm not gonna worry about it too much because I really needed to take a bit of time before I got started. After all, many lectures and classes do that anyways. All right. So, just a reminder, this is a summary of what we learned earlier in my previous lectures. So, SCP, secure, contain, protect. Simple as that. Now, for the people who don't remember and still need to be familiar with me, Dr. Lennon. So, Dr. Lennon, that's my name. That's who you'll be referring to me as. So, Dr. Lennon. I'm the assistant researcher of Dr. Dane, but we all know his current situation. And that's just so people can remember because I'm doing more classes this week. So, that's pretty much the gist of it. I'm not going to really stay too long on that. Object classes. So when I'm going to be explaining these, I'm going to be drawing them. So there's a better example as to what I mean. Object classes. Now keep in mind, classes doesn't exactly refer to like sitting in a class or something like that. That's just like almost like how you would say lower class, middle class, higher class, something like that. That is the level that they will be given. So, object classes. So I'm going to start with safe class. So, safe class, say for example, let me draw this circle. Let me erase this real quick. So I'm going to draw this circle. I am going to draw this because I'm using an actual SCP in the files to help better explain some of this stuff. So this is SCP-131. At least that's one of them because this one has a second one with it. So here's what it looks like. SCP-131. Now, before I get to the safe class, I do want to make it known that when it comes to learning about anomalies, sometimes they will be having a dash A. They will be having a dash B, basically the letters in the alphabet, because SCP-131, there is two of them. So one of them is dash A and one of them is dash B. So, and I'm going to be using this example late. I'm going to use this later on as another example for another SCP, but we'll get to that soon. So, SCP-131. He's a good. They're a good example of a safe class anomaly, simply because they will. First off, I've said many times that anomalies that are under safe class doesn't mean that they're harmless. It just means that they're easy to contain. So this one is an example of an SCP that's easy to contain, but is also harmless. But this is just one of them. You have SCP-999, which is a orange slime that is basically we call him Tickle Monster. He can cure depression, all the other stuff. Like you're feeling depressed, he's the guy, but he's very harmless. So he'll be a good. Him being safe class is another example of a safe class anomaly that just is harmless. Now, excuse me, I really needed that water. I've been talking a lot. I'm gonna erase him off this board. Now I'm gonna use another SCP example. Let's say you have a couch. So here goes the rim. Here goes I don't know, like the seating or whatever the heck. So here's your couch, right? So let's say this couch is an anomaly itself. So you can, it's like the only thing to know about it is that if you sit on it, then it's pretty much gonna do something to you. Like you never know. It could suck you into the chair. Not chair, I mean couch. I apologize. Let's say it'll suck you into in between like the crevices of the pillows or whatever somehow, because with anomalies, really stuff that doesn't make sense is going to be pretty much normal once you start learning more about these things. While, so let me put this on here. While like the side, it's like it's going to be easy to contain because all you have to do is just pick it up from the sides. As long as you got another person with you, then all you have to do is just pick it up from the sides and all the other stuff, and then just take it somewhere else. So that's pretty much an example. See, it's safe class, not because it could be harmless. We don't know what it does, like where it takes people if it were to suck people in through the crevices of the couch. As far as we know, we can take it somewhere with ease by just picking it up from the side. Because as long as we know you sit on it, and then it pretty much just it causes anomalous properties on you or whatever. It just basically the point is it does something to you if you do something specific. But if you do something else, then like again, sit on it, sucks you in, pick it up from the sides, take it to containment, easy, and all the other stuff. And I do apologize if it takes me long to explain the safe class. It takes long because it's really important for people to understand safe class doesn't mean the anomaly is safe. And people seem to have a really hard time understanding that when they first know this. Which is why I explain so much on it, and I try to explain so much on it, because the other ones, they're just pretty simple because they don't need explanation, because they're just pretty easy. Because they use a different name that's not misleading, They use a unique name. Now, Euclid. Euclid is like an anomaly that is like you don't really. It's like just like with safe class anomalies, you don't really need caution that much. But like with Euclid, you need a bit of caution. You need a bit of resources in order to contain the anomaly. This isn't just something you just easily pick up and take somewhere else. This is something where you have to use caution. Where it's like you have to maybe move in a certain direction in order to get the anomaly, and then you have to use something specific to contain the anomaly. You might want to use a specific tool, just like with SCP. Let's use him. Let's put this right here. So you want to use him as, I'm going to use him as an example. So he's a statue. Also, let me put this little face on here. Just because. Now, him, basically what it is that he pretty much just stays still if you make eye contact with him. If you don't, he will just, because he doesn't teleport, he moves like really fast. Keep that in mind. He moves really fast. That's why people put him in cages or uses whatchamacallit, like the ones where it's like you put boxes under it. I mean, you put boxes on top of it, and then you push the thing back, and then you roll it. That's something you will also use to contain him, basically. Because if he were to teleport, then he doesn't really need stuff like straps or cages to contain him. So, I'm sorry, I'm getting into detail. That's just because I'm trying to explain Euclid here. So basically, Euclid, like for him, need a cage. Basically, you don't need much. Like you need a bit of like an extra resource, but it isn't much compared to like how Safe Class, you don't really need resources that much. You just need to pick it up, take it somewhere. With this, you need something specific in order to contain the anomaly, and it doesn't have to be something too serious or whatever. You just need something like that, like such as cages, or like let's say for example, let's say there's this disc, just your everyday disc. Only issue is that it has very sharp sides, right? Now keep in mind this is a disc, and when we think of disc, we might think of a lot of things, such as the fact that it could be like a throwing disc, it could be like a chalk room or something like that, where basically anything with like throwing, that's a good example of that. So let's say this disc were to get loose and it flies everywhere, and then it's like it doesn't move really fast, but it moves at a good pace to the point where it's like it will give you enough time to react, right? So it doesn't move as fast, so it won't be considered Keter, right? So that this moves around the facility or whatever, and the only way you can contain that disc is if you I don't know, play a song. So you see how it's like it isn't something you just pick up or whatever. It's like you gotta use something specific in order to contain it. And with this, it's not that hard to do though. So I am going to move on to Keter. So Keter is really hard to contain. Keep in mind, hard to contain, not impossible to contain. All right, people get that mixed up with one of the other classes that I'm going to talk about in just a sec. But Keter class, right? I'm gonna use the old man again, for example. So let's just put that at the eyes, put a little devious smile or whatever. So the old man, you can like recognize him from his, ugly face, all the other stuff. He's old. He's pretty much just very dark and very gross looking, right? So he's very gross looking. So basically, if you were to see him, your first thought is to run away, right? You will go into another room. You think you're safe. Only problem is all of that black stuff that he has on his face, or basically covering his whole body, is something that helps him walk through walls. So pretty much just like intangibility. So let's say here's a wall. He could be right here. You could be right here. So let's say he can't get past through a door. What does that say? You're back? Yes, I am. I'm doing the summary. This is going to be my last live I'm going to be doing right now. But that's what I was saying. Keter, right? So most Keter anomalies have something that like they have like a lot, like they have multiple stuff that like abilities, multiple sometimes clones or basically something relating to them. They have a lot of, right, or multiple of. I'm gonna just say that. So back onto like SCP-106. So he can go. So if he can't get you from the other side, he will just walk through and then get you from over there. So pretty much he'll walk through that wall and then just get you, and that is bad for you. You're sitting there crying because you can't escape him. What does it say? Oh, FYI, the quality is much better, and thanks for the black marker. This is not black. This is brown. I knew somebody would get it mixed up with black though, but it's brown. I had to find what I could, but I'm just using the standard webcam. I'm not like using a phone or anything. But back onto the subject. SCP-106 can walk through walls and all that other stuff. I can't remember, but there is a specific wall he can't walk through. But or like with any material that he just can't walk through. But as far as I know, he can walk through walls, and that's a big issue. And that's why he's hard to contain, because once he's contained, he's walking through walls and nobody can find him. So walk through walls, he can get you, you're crying, sitting there looking stupid, and you're pretty much dead. And what he likes to do, because he really likes suffering, so he's very sadistic. So he can create this pocket dimension, like either on walls, grounds. Can he walk through brick walls? Yes, he can walk through brick walls. He can walk through many walls. Like, as far as I know, there's only one material, and that's just something he can't walk through, and that's what they use to contain him in a box. So 106 has this other ability where he can make pocket dimensions. So just like that black stuff that I was saying that was all over his body, it's that same stuff that's on the pocket dimension. So I'm gonna make a big circle or something like that, right? Or something round, just something where it looks like a hole. So let's say this is his pocket dimension. It's either on the floor, on the wall. If it's on the wall, he can just throw you in there. If it's on the ground, he can just drop you in there. All the other stuff, right? So when you're in this pocket dimension, it's known that most of survivors, other Class D survivors, they come out and they say that it's like a place of like torment and just suffering, right? He likes to mess with his victims. Again, he likes suffering. So you could have multiple doorways leading to God knows what, right? So you could have like multiple doorways leading that way. It could lead that way. It could lead that way. All the other stuff. You don't know where it's going to go. The next thing you know, you're in a room where it has like something you see at a movie where there's like spikes swinging. You could teleport in this one spot where you're back in the trenches in World War One, then you see this corvid flying over the sky. This huge corvid with an eye in its stomach. Then it rains blood down from it. That's something that can be tormenting. It turns out that blood does something to you, and it just hurts. He just likes torment. And and another thing, that black stuff that he has over his body can also act like an acid, like a acid goo. So it burns and stuff, pretty much decays your body. So the only way to contain him is with something that the Foundation calls a femur breaker. So I'm gonna just draw. Here's a table. So for those who aren't really much of a biology person and doesn't exactly quite remember what a femur is, the femur is that upper part of your leg, or is it the lower part? Basically, hold on, let me see here. It's funny that now I have to check my stuff and see if I'm getting this right. Because I do begin the femur mixed up with like either the upper leg or the lower leg. Yeah, so I was right. It was the upper leg. So the femur breaker is probably one of the most painful bones you could break. So basically, it's like the bone that's right on your thighs. So here's the lower leg, here's the upper leg. Your femur would be right here. So they would put you on the table. It would have this thing, like almost like a guillotine, but it's specifically for your femur. So they'll put you in like some straps on the side. They'll put you and they'll also, put some like straps around your neck as well, because they really want to make sure you don't run when they need to contain this guy. So pretty much this is the part that is supposed to break the femur. Like I said, it's like a guillotine, but it's for your femur. So your femur would be sticking out like right here. Let's just pretend that this is the femur. So it will come down, and then the femur would split right here. So it will cause you to scream a lot, and it attracts the attention of SCP-106 simply because, again, like I say, he likes suffering. He likes suffering so much that he could be in his pocket dimension, which could be somewhere else, like in time and space. It gets his attention so much that he hears that in his pocket dimension. Like, he's not in the facility, he just hears this. So he comes out, gets the Class D because Class D are expendable. So he gets the Class D that's on the table. Then keep in mind the femur breaker is in the exact box that he's contained in. So they use that in order to contain SCP-106. They close the door. Then he's just trapped in there for a while. Then 106 just sits there until he has an opportunity to get out again. You, the big brain. Thank you. Also, let me fix this camera because this thing messed up. But yeah, pretty much that's just what they use in order to contain SCP-106. Now that's an example of Keter class because you have to think of extra steps in order to contain the anomaly or entity, and it just requires a lot of resource basically, and it's really hard to contain them because you never know. You can't just pick anybody to contain him, you have to pick like ages like 8 to 25. So ages 8 to 25, and pretty much because he likes the young people. So if there's anybody older than that, then he's just not going to be interested in it. And just imagine having Class D that's nowhere near that age, then that's just not going to help you. So femur right here, here's the femur. The femur breaker comes down, splits the femur in half. You scream a lot. SCP-106 comes after you if you're below the age 25 and at least the age over 8. That's all I have to say about that part. I think, yeah. So pretty much that is all I have to say. I gave a full example of what 106 does, but I was really supposed to be explaining what Keter basically means. But at least that should give you an example. He has multiple abilities, and then they have to use a specific machine, and they have to use a Class D at a specific age in order to contain him. And they only get like a few shots at it, So that's how hard you can imagine it is. Not only that, he's probably one of the most notorious SCPs in the Foundation. Now, moving to Thaumiel. Thaumiel, you can use an SCP to contain another SCP. Oh, I got 4 people on here. Good to know. So you can use another SCP to contain another SCP. That's what Thaumiel means. So let's say Iris. So, excuse me. Had some drink earlier and I had some beans, but Iris, she has this Polaroid camera. Now I'm not the best at drawing cameras, so bear with me here. So let's just say this is a Polaroid camera. Like, I really don't know what Polaroid cameras really look like. It's been a while since I've seen one. So here's a camera, and here's where it prints out the picture, right? So Iris, she can, let me see what this comment says. Hi, Cold Trash. Hello, but I'm Dr. Lennon, not Kobe, so I don't know who the heck you're talking about. Anyways, Iris will take a picture with this Polaroid camera, then whatever is in the picture, let's say you got land here, we got trees right here. So let's say you got trees. What she'll do is she will take the picture, then she could put her hand behind the picture, take the tree out, then, like, let's say I just remove this right here. So the tree's gone. But if you look behind you, not behind you, but in front of where the picture was, then that land that you saw that she took a picture of and that tree she took out, it's not there anymore. So that's what she does. So, and she's been used to contain other anomalies. And actually, to be honest, it doesn't even have to be containing another anomaly. It could just help spot another anomalies. Take, for example, SCP-173. She is a woman in space with very long hair. She's dark and pretty much she's like a guardian angel, all the other good stuff, right? Hold on, let me see what this comment says. That's cool. Thank you. So let's say, for example, there's a threat that could be a threat to Earth that's just not on Earth, right? So it's somewhere out in space. So she will point in the direction so let's just use that as a hand, right? Not the best hand, I know it looks goofy, but this is an example. So SCP-173, She's an SCP that will point out a threat that could be another SCP that's just far out in space that could be a threat to Earth. So she'll point it out, but she can't really do anything about it though. She just, tells you where it is. So that's another example of thaumiel. Using another SCP to contain or spot other SCPs. Almost like black on black crimes, but it's more authorized and it's more official. Nice. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So that's what thaumiel means. Now, neutralized, again, I've said this multiple times. Neutralized, if you watch a movie, they say target neutralized, that's only after they killed somebody or they've downed somebody. Then that applies here with SCPs. That either means the SCP is like dead or just destroyed. So basically broken in pieces, all that other stuff. Can SCP float in the sky? See, let me clarify this to y'all. When it comes to SCPs, all of the SCPs are not all the same. So some can fly, some can't. So when I talk about SCP classes, I don't mean that the SCPs are exactly the same. They're just because don't forget, there are thousands of SCPs and they're all given these classes and stuff. You could have an SCP that flies, but it can be safe, Euclid, or Keter, all the other stuff. So let me see what this says. That's a good question. So yeah, pretty much a lot of SCPs can float. It just, again, they're not all the same, so they're all very different. So it's almost just like opening a mystery box. You don't know what you're going to get when you find a new anomaly. So it can do anything. Now, Apollyon. What a good example for Apollyon? Let's say there is a sleeping god. So here is the grass. Now, don't keep in mind, this grass is like hundreds of miles. So pretend this is hundreds of miles, right? Let me see what this says. I don't know what SCP is, but it seems cool. Is the bird SCP good? Okay. So I'm not sure if you're referring to like the corvid that I was talking about, which is the bird I was talking about when I was explaining 106. But because I'm going to answer that question later, but I want to move on, right? So let's say this is grass. And keep in mind, this is hundreds of miles. This is the crust of the earth. And then under that crust, you have a sleeping god under here. So he's just taking a little nap underground, but if he were to be disturbed or if there's a time where it's time for him to wake up, if he goes up, then there's a possible chance that he can cause an XK class scenario. XK class means end of the world scenario. I'm going to be teaching the K class tomorrow on next lecture tomorrow. But basically what it is, Apollyon means that it's impossible to contain because you never know. We might know about this guy. Only issue is that the plans that we made, either whether we know it's going to work or not, if it were to come up and it's just we only have yet to like try it, and it's like it still probably wouldn't work even if we thought it was going to work, you know. So if it were to come out of the ground and cause an XK class, we just can't do anything about it. It's impossible to contain, and that's just the end of the world right there. So that is what Apollyon means. It means impossible to contain. You know, sometimes, in my opinion, it doesn't need to be like world destroying. It could just be an anomaly that's not been caught yet, and the Foundation keeps trying to catch it. But he's just hard to catch, and that's just one of my other views of Apollyon. Let's see how long I've been here. Dang, I've been on here for like 40 minutes. No, it's not. We can die. That happens pretty. Excuse me, but pretty much we can die if something like that were to happen. Now, to answer your question earlier, the thing about the birds is like there are some bird SCPs, but I don't know much of them. I just know like there's a bird SCP that's within an SCP, which is like 106. In his pocket dimension, you have a corvid, which is like ravens, crows, all that other stuff, right? So a corvid comes over, flying over you while you're in the trenches of World War One. It has an eye in its stomach, and then it will rain blood on you. You know, so that's an SCP that can fly or whatever. And also, again, to answer that question again earlier, what you said is like, is there any SCPs that can fly? Yes, there can, but sometimes they're not necessarily birds. They can just be flying objects. You know, they can be flying humanoids. You know, like humans, but humanoid. That's what humanoid means. It means something like humans, human entities. Now, is there any other questions before I move on? Because I'm going to move on to hazards. Any questions? All right, no questions. Give me a second. So I am going to be moving on to hazards. So hazards are very important. Where do they live? Now, the thing about anomalies is that you can't exactly know where they live sometimes unless there's like let's say a field operative or something like that, right? So what it is that these anomalies, again, there's thousands of them, so we don't always know where they live. The only time we can know if an anomaly lives somewhere is that the foundation can't physically take it into the facility. So basically, it's most of the time like an area. Take for example, you can have a whole desert that's an actual SCP. It's not a humanoid, it's not an object, it's an area. So that's a good example of an anomaly that could live somewhere. I guess that answers your question. So again, some of these anomalies, there's too many of these anomalies, so you're gonna be more specific as to which one you're talking about. All right. So again, moving on to the hazards, right? Now keep in mind that hazards are going to be in triangle. I need to get back to SCPs. Basically, just on you. All right. Let me draw this stuff on here so it's a better example, because sometimes drawing the stuff on there is a better example to know what these SCPs can do. So here is a brain. I try to draw a brain, but it looks like nuts. Anyways, moving on. Medic hazard. Basically, let's see. Wait, I'm trying the best I can here to, draw this stuff out. And what are the last three? So medic, bio, radioactive. I'm gonna actually leave one of them. I'm gonna leave some of these out. So I try to draw the best I can, simply because I don't have anything like it's SCP a movie. So off roleplay. I'm gonna explain what that is. So it's not necessarily a movie. Basically, what it is that you have the SCP wiki. So Wikipedia. Wikipedia gives you information, all the other stuff. But the SCP Foundation has its own wiki. Well, not just specifically the Foundation, just anything SCP related, it has its own wiki. So you can pretty much look up stuff from there. And basically, what it does is that a lot of people read this stuff and then they make fan films. They don't make official movies, they make fan movies. So, fan films, and then sometimes they make fan games, which is the normal games you'd be seeing, like SCP Secret Lab, SCP Containment Breach, all that other good stuff. So, back on to the example I was talking about, I think it's a movie and a game. So, pretty much all the movies and games you see are just fan creations, but really everything relies on SCP Wiki dot. That's what you want to type in when you look this up. You want to look at SCP Wiki and dot. All right. Now, I try to draw this the best way I can, because usually if you want to look at hazards, now some of these hazards are something that you would use in real life, but here in the Foundation, it's very specific for like anomalies. So, what's that say? Oh, thanks for telling me. Yes, no problem. Now, cognitohazard. It's a brain. I tried to draw the best I could, but it's a brain with a letter X on there. So the thing about cognitohazards is that it really messes with your mind. So, and it does it one by one most of the time. So let's say, for example, you think you're like my arm. I could think it's on fire or something like that, and I can actually feel that it's on fire. Only issue is, other people around me, they don't see that. It's just only something I'm seeing, and my mind's playing tricks on me. That's a cognitohazard. So if an anomaly is around me, then they can cause a cognitohazard just by being around me, or if they touch me, that it can cause a cognitohazard, and then they can make me think I'm on fire or something like that, but really I'm not on fire. Now, moving on to see, the drawing is so bad that I have to look back on the board in order to recognize what it is. Mimetic hazard. Okay, sorry. So mimetic hazard. This is something that happens when it's kind of like cognitohazard, except that this is something that spreads, And this is something. Most of the time, it's something that you see that it causes it. So let's say I see a symbol, I see somebody's face. It can cause a mimetic hazard because I saw it. So I would start, almost just like cognitohazards, I can start having hallucinations sometimes. I can actually have something that's really happening to me that isn't a hallucination. Sometimes I could like start to feel very tired. Then next thing you know, I pass out. Then I'm getting eaten alive or something like that. Or if I see something, then it can cause me to go and probably harm somebody else. And again, the stuff spreads. So the mimetic hazards is something that just spreads, like a virus or something like contagious. So the warning label is a light bulb. Now, biological hazard. Now, or I think that's radiological. No, that's biological. My bad. So biological hazard. I don't know if y'all can see that. I want to make sure y'all can see that. So yeah, this should be good to see. Biological hazard is basically something that happens with your biology. It's in the name, so biology, so biological hazard is something that happens to your body. Let's say I'm around an anomaly, or the anomaly touches me, it can turn me into flesh, and then they can use the flesh, like my flesh, in order to attack others or whatever. It basically involves just messing with the flesh of the person. And it doesn't have to do anything with the bones or something. Well, I guess it does do something with the bones. I guess that counts as biology. Basically, just it does something very specific to the human body. Say, for example, the flesh that hates. So it's known to be infectious and all that stuff to people's biology by turning them into flesh monsters. It can give you flesh tendrils. It can give you flesh claws or something like that. Or basically, it can just reshape your body into its own imagination. Just almost like the Flood from Halo. You recognize the Flood, right? I know some of y'all recognize the Flood. So, radiological hazard. So, radiological hazard is basically something that involves radiation, right? Radiation is something you might know as like heat, right? So, when you're just around normal heat, it doesn't really affect you, right? But there's certain types of heat that does certain things. You have gamma radiation, you have just like normal radiation, and you have gamma radiation. So, radioactive hazards is a good example of like radiation. Like so much radiation could make you lose your hair, all that other stuff, right? It can do something strange to your body, almost like biological hazards. It can do something strange to your body, except this is caused by so much heat, So, what's a good example? Radioactive hazards. Think of SCP-457. You can look up in the files on YouTube. If you type in SCP-457, then this would be a good example. So SCP-457 is a walking fire, right? It's basically a fireman. Not like the fireman, like the fire department. I'm talking about fireman. Like he's a little man made of fire. And he only uses wood to make his body. But I'm not going to get into all that. So he would be a good example because let's say this is, I'm using the wrong marker. Let's say, for example, this is his body, right? Because, he uses wood for his body. Here is his arms. Here is his legs. That's all wood. So he needs that in order to keep moving around and then grow more fire. So here's all the fire that's around him, right? So if he comes in contact with more fire and more metals and all that other stuff, then he can grow larger and then cause like more forest fires. Then he can cause a radiological hazard. So something like that is important. Now, I was going to name some of the other hazards, but I might mention it tomorrow simply because I don't have enough time. I have to wrap this up. Is there any questions you are confused about that you could tell me? Because after all, I'm the one who's doing the lectures. I'm the assistant researcher on this stuff. If you just give me a question, and I'll probably answer it for you. Because if anything, I was supposed to be done with this whole like a long time ago. So no questions or anything. Because I have to end this in like 30 seconds. So you might want to put your questions in there now so I can at least answer for you. If not, just tell me no or just don't say anything. I don't know. So no questions. No questions. All right. It is good to know that nobody has any questions because I really do have to wrap this up. And I have to prepare for next lecture tomorrow. So yeah. So I hope you at least learn something when it comes to these SCPs. I can probably do a little bit better for the next one simply because it's just going to be simple, like a whole lot simpler than this. So yeah. So I'll see you guys next time. And are you sure there's no more questions you need to ask? Because I'm literally about to end it right here. I have my mouse on the end broadcast. How many SCPs are there? That is something I don't know, like probably 9,000. Yeah, there's probably like 9,000 SCPs. Some of them I'm not allowed to know, some of them I can know, all that other stuff. Or at least just some I'm not allowed to know yet because I'm only level 3 clearance. I don't have level 4 or level 5 just yet. So yeah. But yeah, I'm about to end this broadcast, and again, I hope y'all learned something, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow. All right, see ya.